The courageous Captain Sig Hansen, who you may recognize from Deadliest Catch, has made a fortune from decades of risky crab fishing. His years at the helm of the Northwestern have been filled with record-breaking crab hauls, which have netted him rewards of more than $650,000. Fame on television led to sponsorship deals, book sales, and Sig's voice acting debut in a Pixar film, among other things, Beyond the Bering Sea. He has dabbled in real estate as well, owning both Seattle houses and an island in Norway. However, getting rich hasn't been simple, what with health problems, personal scandals, and stormy seas. So, how much money has Captain Sig truly made from the most dangerous profession in the world? It wasn't sheer luck that propelled Sig Hansen to the position of wealthiest captain on Deadliest Catch. It began on the decks of his family's fishing boat when he was 14 years old and continued with tenacity, peril, and unrelenting ambition. A native sealight, Sig spent his formative years immersed in the maritime environment. His grandpa and father, Svara and Hansen, were early Alaskan crab fishermen who persevered through the worst of the winters to make a living. Following in their footsteps, Sig immediately realized that the ocean was more appealing than school. He frequently skipped school as a teenager so he could be a part of the crew. At 24 years old, Sig had taken over as captain of the Northwestern, the ship his father had steered. The sea clearly wasn't merely a profession. This was left behind. By the turn of the millennium, SIG had transformed the Northwestern into a high-performing vessel. He led with courage, conviction, and dogged persistence. On the Bering Sea, even the smallest error might have catastrophic consequences. Still, the Northwestern became known for its exceptional safety record and excellent yields while SIG was in charge. His ship had never lost a life, unlike so many others. A remarkable track record in the most dangerous occupation on Earth. Everything, though, changed in 2005. Deadliest Catch, a Discovery Channel program, exposed millions of viewers to the savage realities of crab fishing in Alaska. Because of his strong charisma, Sig was immediately a pivotal character. The combination of his humor, grit, and the seeming strain he encountered at sea captivated viewers. Not only did Sig become a famous reality TV star, but the show's honest narrative also caused it to become a ratings hit. Not only did the publicity make him famous, but it also significantly increased his wealth. His wealth was inflated by endorsement deals, appearance fees, and extra income as a featured captain. Sig Hansen is expected to have a net worth of around $4 million in 2023. The foundation of SIG's wealth has always been fishing. Under his leadership, the Northwestern maintains a consistent position among the fleet's top earners. Boats like the Northwestern are typically given an economic advantage by SIG due to crab quotas that are determined by previous performance. Depending on the quality of the catch, he and his team can make hundreds of thousands of dollars in a matter of weeks during peak seasons. However, the quotas are not guaranteed. The environment and efforts to reduce the population can have an effect on them. Legislation, and even official rules. Sig sees a decline in his revenue during lean years due to declining crab populations or reduced quotas. Despite the huge potential payout when the catch is plentiful, he has experienced seasons where king crab fishing was completely shut down, leading to financial instability. Even for captains, the crab business may be a very uncertain place in terms of earnings. In the worst years, captains like Sig have had to deal with financial difficulties on par with the perilous seas. Sig has come clean about the fact that fishing does not provide a retirement plan. Hopefully, the upcoming season will be an improvement over the last one, but nothing is guaranteed. The Northwestern has met or exceeded its quotas on a constant basis thanks to Sig's expertise, even though the situation is dangerous and unpredictable. As captain, he stands to earn six figures with every haul that goes well. Particularly during times of year when crab prices increase. Television contributed an additional source of revenue for SIG. He started getting endorsement deals with companies like Carhartt and Grundens, which are known for making robust gear that is suitable for the unpredictable sea, in addition to his compensation from Deadliest Catch. These endorsements were more than a nice perk. They were a lifeline for SIG's finances during the fishing industry's boom and bust. His chances of making public appearances also rose after appearing on the show. His fortune grew with every engagement, whether he was giving speeches or meeting and greeting admirers. The combination of Sig's inflated but realistic public persona with his dedication to hard work paid off handsomely. Television and fishing weren't Sig's only interests, either. He had a best-selling collaboration with Mark Sundin in 2010 with the publication of North by Northwestern. It revealed the perilous lifestyle on the Bering Sea and the history of his family to readers. Selling books was a great way for Sig to increase his wealth and show off his business skills. Stories, whether told on TV or in print, were important to Sig. He persisted in capitalizing on that momentum, venturing as far as Hollywood for potential chances. Krabby, a crab boat, was one of the characters he voiced in 2011's Cars 2. Although it was a brief role, it was lucrative, extending his reach even farther than that of reality television. In the middle of the 2010s, Sig had gone from being a mere fisherman to a famous TV personality. Even more exposure and opportunity to diversify his income came his way when he competed in The Celebrity Apprentice. But becoming famous was not without its drawbacks. The stress of juggling his life at sea, his TV obligations, and his personal life, on top of the great need to preserve his standing, took its toll on Sig. A new professional milestone was achieved by Sig Hansen in 2014. An honor befitting his heritage, commitment, and influence, he was elected to the Scandinavian American Hall of Fame. An awful event at sea, however, quickly eclipsed the joy of his success. Sig had a heart attack on the Northwestern in early March of 2016 while filming Deadliest Catch. With that, he was 49 years old. On an exhausting schedule that tested my mental and physical resilience. It was shocking for Sig and his team to hear of the tragedy. The usual mayhem of the Bering Sea, with its choppy waters, high stakes, and pressure to fulfill the season's quota, set the stage for what was to come. Sig felt an innate need to continue regardless of how excruciating the agony was. Later on, Sig reflected on the situation and described it as a 50-50th possibility. His team urged him to get medical help, even though he wanted to continue fishing at first. No discussion could be had. The life-altering event that occurred when Sig was taken to a hospital in Anchorage, Alaska, was a watershed moment in the annals of the Deadliest Catch. Documentation of the incident on the show's social media platforms sent shockwaves through the fishing community and among viewers. However, Sig found the aftermath to be more terrifying than the incident itself. Upon returning home and asking yourself, did that really happen, the terror intensified. He remembered. Looking back, the truth of his near-death experience at sea weighed heavier on him. His anger was fueled by the heart attack. Even the sea, his constant companion, seemed to have brutally betrayed him. Sig had to make some quick adjustments to his way of life because of the fear. The days of binging on fatty comfort foods and smokes are over. The transition to salads and better eating, which he playfully called sucking, was inevitable. The man's whole life had been based on adrenaline, grit, and often harmful coping strategies, so it was a big shift for him. Still, Sig understood it was essential if he was to keep filming and fishing. Everyone who had followed him for more than a decade, his loved ones, his staff, and his fans, had their futures in his hands. Books and TV appearances weren't the extent of Sig's commercial endeavors. Over the years, he wisely invested his earnings from fishing, spreading them out over several assets. Real estate was one of his primary areas of interest. He bought a house in Seattle and an Alaskan vacation rental, diversifying his income and giving him peace of mind. During years when fishing was slow or when he had health problems, these assets were vital to keeping his fortune. The riches of Sig wasn't amassed suddenly, even with the millions of dollars produced. Years at sea, difficult business decisions, and a dogged pursuit of opportunity culminated in it. His goal in every endeavor, from fishing trips to TV negotiations, was to increase his wealth. However, Sig is quick to point out that success in fishing is by no means assured. There is no contingency plan when fishing, he once remarked. The choice is yours, surf the wave or go downhill. Even for captains, the prospective earnings on Deadliest Catch might vary greatly. Depending on their performance and amount of screen time, captains can reportedly earn anything from $150,000 to $500,000 per season just from the show. Because of his steady role as one of the show's main captains, Sig's pay falls towards the top end of that spectrum. When added to his sponsorship deals and fishing earnings, this puts Sig in the top tier of crab fishing earners. Deckhands on the Northwestern can expect to make anywhere from $15,000 to $50,000 in the span of a few months. According to the auditorium. It's not easy, but the rewards might change your life. As captain, Sig's share is obviously far bigger, but the mental and physical toll is also significantly greater. Constant anxiety, smart decision-making, and attention around the clock are all part of the job description. The possibility of making millions is ever present, but so is the possibility of suffering physically and financially devastating losses. While Sig has witnessed the arrival and departure of crew members throughout his decades at sea, his family has remained steadfast. Aside from the crabs, Sig's story is about leaving a legacy that he wishes his daughters would continue. This legacy revolves around Mandy Hansen, who is Sig's youngest daughter. Following in her father's footsteps wasn't the only motivation for Mandy to go into crab fishing. she also wanted to prove herself in one of the most challenging industries on the planet. In addition to his biological daughter Melissa and his two adoptive children Nina and Mandy, Sig also has a biological daughter from a prior marriage. Sig is married to June. Despite Melissa's departure, Mandy has established herself as a mainstay on the Northwestern and has even been promoted to the role of interim captain. Like her sisters, Mandy grew up in the same traditional Norwegian household that shaped Sig's identity. She is fluent in the language. She picked up the language of her family and the ocean as she grew up in a Norwegian-speaking home where the language was more common than English. Family loyalty wasn't the only factor in Mandy's choice to join the Northwestern. The mental and physical challenges of the job were what it was all about. Fear has no place in the Bering Sea, as Mandy quickly discovered. She received no preferential treatment only because she was her father's daughter. Like every other member of the crew, Mandy had to prove herself worthy of respect on deck. Sig, in his dual roles as her father and commander, struck an elegant balance. While he felt a strong need to challenge Mandy, he also had to be firm since he was a dad. Deadliest Catch expertly depicted this conflict, particularly when Sig's rough love was on show. Mandy, though, wasn't there for the sake of a reality TV cameo. Becoming a captain, guiding a seasoned crew through stormy seas, was her lifelong dream. Things were tough for her when she first boarded the Northwestern. At times, the seasoned crew had doubts about her, and the sea's wrath tried to break her will. Not because Mandy wanted to leave, but because Sig, being a parent, couldn't bear the idea of his daughter in danger. He had to drag her off the deck during a storm in one episode. As the enormous waves pounded against the barrier, he would grumble that it was hardly a lake. Still, Mandy returned time and time again, adamant about proving that she was more than simply the captain's daughter. Sig has strong ties to his extended family that go beyond his daughters. The success of Northwestern University would not have been possible without his brothers, Edgar and Norman Hansen. While still youths, the three brothers began fishing together under the tutelage of their father, Sverre. Being the eldest, Sig naturally assumed the position of mentor at a young age, but even this close-knit family had its fair share of problems and scandals. Although both Edgar and Norman started out as deckhands and eventually rose through the ranks to engineer and deck boss, their careers took very different turns. After a starring role on Deadliest Catch, Edgar pleaded guilty to fourth-degree sexual assault in 2018, causing him to face significant legal complications. Edgar discreetly left the show after this tragic episode involving the Hansen family. Had to deal with the fallout that Edgar's actions caused among the cast, crew, and viewers of the show. Even Sig's private life has had its share of high-profile scandals. He got into a fight with a Seattle Uber driver in 2017, leading to his arrest. After a night on the town, Sig caused damage to the driver's car. Sig was embarrassed but ultimately accepted wrongdoing, accepting whole responsibility for his behavior. He was subject to intense media attention after receiving a one-year probationary term. The controversy aside, Sig's priorities still lie with his family and fishing. Their relationship has grown beyond their work together on the Northwestern, and Mandy has become his most trusted ally. Sailor Marie is her own daughter, and she is now married. As a grandfather, Sig's life has taken on a new dimension, providing him with joy in a world where danger and grief are commonplace. The fact that Sailor, who is far too young to fish, has made an appearance on Deadliest Catch suggests that the Hansen name may live on. Norway is still very important to the Hansen family. The identity of Sig and his siblings as fishermen was influenced by the custom of spending summers fishing in Norway with their father and grandfather. Not long ago, Sig went fishing with Mandy off the coast of Norway for cod and mackerel. Now he's back in Norway for a new adventure series called The Viking Returns. In this new series, Sig combines his Norwegian roots with his passion for fishing to launch a new chapter in his career. Re-establishing ties to the Hansen family heritage is more important to Sig than simply catching fish. Despite the emotional investment, the trip back to Norway is also a calculated business move in light of the devastating closure of the Red King crab fishery in Alaska. When things don't go according to plan, Sig isn't afraid to pivot. The waters of Norway present a fresh challenge while also providing an opportunity for the Hansen family to earn money, which might help them weather these uncertain economic times. Sig's backstory is further complicated by the fact that he owns the Norwegian island of Mordholmen. The island represents the everlasting connection between the Hansen family and the water, as it was here that Sig and his siblings went crab fishing when they were kids. There is no separation between Sig and the water in his private life, not even when he is at sea. He and his wife June continue to live in Seattle, where he has deep roots. He and his family are huge fans of the Seattle Seahawks and Mariners, two of the city's professional sports teams. He finds a happy medium between the pressures of stardom and the familiarity of home in his terrestrial existence, which is a blend of the two. As Deadliest Catch 20 drew to a close, Captain Sig Hansen and the Northwestern had anything but a peaceful sailing. A catastrophe occurred midway through the last push. There was a blackout. The crew was left 130 miles out at sea without lights, GPS, or radar after the panel stubbornly refused to respond. The chilly Bering Sea loomed large, ready to engulf them in its darkness. Almost never before in these perilous seas have SIG had to resort to manual steering due to malfunctioning sophisticated equipment. The last 15 crab pots were to be hauled in by the crew as daylight rose. It was a tough task. Sig let his son-in-law, Clark Peterson, take the wheel while he controlled the throttle because there were only 2 guys working the operation. In order to recover the pots and return home safely, it was an all-hands-on-deck situation. Additional stress was piling on for Clark. Soon, they were going to have a child, according to his wife Mandy. Each choice mattered. While the clock ticked down to an unclear finish line with each passing minute. Once all of the pots had been recovered, the next task was to determine the best route back to Dutch Harbor. After years of relying on instinct, SIG had to use a magnetic compass and approximate distance estimations to return to shore. With everything on the line, it was a battle of wits versus technology. When the shoreline of Dutch Harbor finally materialized on the horizon, the anxious minutes aboard the ship subsided. Sig's normally stern countenance, shaped by the strain of seafaring, softened as he touched down at the last possible moment to greet his newborn grandchild. On the Titan Explorer, Captain Jake Anderson encountered similarly perilous conditions. Jake was fighting for more than just crab, he was trying to keep his job as he bravely battled towering 20-foot seas. The message from his boss was quite clear: no crab, no job. Jake wasted little time in repurposing a smaller engine after the autopilot stopped working, ingeniously releasing the last 20 pots. He had to put the pots in reverse and race the tide while the leaky boat battled the unforgiving surf. A job-saving haul that came down to the wire, he managed to secure 140,000 pounds of crab by the end of it. In order to meet the deadline, Jonathan Hillstrand and the Time Bandit crew were in a race against the clock to collect 5,000 pounds. Good fortune was with you if you saw killer whales or seals. They quickly experienced success, capturing crab valued in excess of 6 figures. However, there was still another obstacle: making sure the product didn't perish in transit because of issues with the slack tank. They finished the season strongly, even if they lost a few games. As the season came to a close, the scores were calculated. Titan Explorer made $1,021,010, while Time Bandit made $724,990. And $658,395 to Northwestern. Money is just one indicator of Captain Sig Hansen's riches. It is a product of his decades-long career spent on the Bering Sea, during which he faced terrifying storms and shown the tenacity and resolve that characterize his work. Hard work and perseverance have paid off for Sig, who has overcome insurmountable odds to bring his family into a new fishing period and survive breakdowns in complete darkness. A lifetime spent risking everything on dangerous waters has left him with an estimated net worth of $4 million, which represents both his successful hauls and his legacy.